Well, it might be a damp and entirely unpromising autumn morning here in Cheltenham, but it's always a privilege to come to the place which has completely changed the face of national hunt racing, both in Ireland and Britain, because in both countries now, amazingly, Willie Mullins is the reigning champion trainer. I was lucky enough just to spend a little time with him, not so much talking about all these wonderful horses behind me, but talking about what spurs him on and what has made this place so extraordinarily effective and so dominant in this sport. And I began by asking whether winning both championships in Britain and Ireland was something of a watershed moment.
We enjoyed it. We enjoyed the run up to it, the planning, entering the horses, trying to get everything in place, and we had a lot of luck. I mean, if someone told me at the start of the season that a trainer would win all these races by short heads and heads, you know, everything, we just got the bounce of the ball the whole way for the last 3 months of the season, and winning the Grand National probably put us in the position. Everything just went right. But what we really enjoyed, I think, was the last day of the season, the welcome we got in Sandown. A lot of Irish people travelled over with us, friends and other people, and the amount of people that came to Sandown that probably hadn't been there in their lives before, and the goodwill that we got from the other side of the water. I mean, the amount of English trainers that wrote to me afterwards, and a lot of the older English trainers, we were amazed, absolutely blown away with the welcome and the goodwill that we got from it.
And you nearly done it several years earlier and had just come up short. After that, had you thought, well, that's not something I'm ever going to really go after again? Or was it always just ticking away in the back of your mind that it was something you might have a go at?
Yeah, it was ticking away. And the way we set up our season, we sort of trained for Cheltenham, and that's what our owners want. But it was amazing over the years, the different owners that said to me, you know, would you not have a go? You know, we think you could do it. Set yourself up to go there. And I always think, stick to plan A first, try and win nice big races during the season, and then come back to Punchestown. And this year, you know, we had the horse like I Am Maximus, and you need a lot of luck to win a Grand National. And everything went right for him. Paul gave him a super ride, and that put us in the position. But before the Grand National, we had to commit a lot of the other horses to Aintree, which we normally don't do, because to win it was good, but we had to win a lot of prize money along the way, and to have a chance. And you know, the first 2 days of Aintree, just unbelievable, the few races we won. Then of course I Am Maximus set it up, and then I just said to David Casey, who did a lot of my planning, anything that can run anywhere, enter. So we were all parts of England, I think, winning, picking up 2,000 here, 3,000 there, with horses, places we never dreamt we'd go to. Because when we lost it before, I wondered, had we put enough effort into it? And I say you have to lose a final to win one, you know. And this time I said, right, we're nearly there, let's go all out, and that's what we did. And it was great fun doing it.
Back to the original question, does this mean that's the way you're going to frame every season now? Because you've done it, how fierce is the intention not to let it go?
I can't say hand on heart that we're going for it from the start. It's very difficult. It's a different type of racing in England than we have in Ireland. We have a good novice system, I think, that a lot of the English trainers you know, envy, because we can bring our novice horse the whole way through the season without having to resort maybe to a big prize money handicap. And you know, in England, I think to get a lot of the prize money, you probably have to go for those big handicaps, and they can be tough.
So you have to race a little harder, a little earlier in the season, and you then mightn't have quite the horse that you want for the back end.
That's it. You know, traditionally we finish the season well, and that's the way I like to do it. There's good prize money at the end of the season. We're lucky that we've got patient owners. I mean, sometimes if you miss, you've got your whole season is gone. It's like preparing a horse for the Grand National. If you fall to the first, you got to wait till next year, and you've already given away a season to have a horse ready for the Grand National. You know, it's now this year was a little different with I Am Maximus. He won a Grade 1 race because he was still a novice at the start, this time last year, he was a novice under our rules in Ireland. If you win late in the season, you're a novice for the first 6 months of the season in Ireland still.
Yeah.
You're not a novice in England.
Sure.
So he was able to win a big prize, not affect his handicap, and still running the big races and get him ready for the National.
Should we talk about the National itself? It was a very different looking race last year. Do you think that'll be the National now as we move forward? Do you think that's what Nationals will look like, or do you think it was simply a function of that particular race on that day?
I think, talking to people and the new changes that are made, it's going to attract the better type of horse, and the prize money will attract the better type of horse. But when you have less runners, you're going to have horses higher up the handicap going for the race, and that's going to be a consequence of it. I mean, it's the people's race, but I wonder, are a lot of those horses that traditionally went for the National, will they be able to get into it now? That's my worry, that they mightn't be high enough in the handicap to get in.
But has Iron Maximus's victory encouraged you to run even better horses in the race? Could you, for example, run a Galopin des Champs in the Grand National?
You could look at it. It depends on the owner. Some owners would prefer stick to the graded races rather than come back for a handicap. And it's a tough race, the Grand National is. So if you think about running a Gold Cup horse in it, that's what, 21 or 2 days after he runs in the Gold Cup.
And sometimes even shorter than that.
Yeah, that's very tough. I imagine it could happen if you had a Gold Cup winner that might have been a 25-1 or 33-1 shot entered in the National, and you were his last run was maybe the Gold Cup, and he wins it, and then you say, right, okay, let's go for the National. But it's probably not something a Gold Cup horse would plan, or an owner would plan with a Gold Cup horse. But who knows? But
it could just become a better and better race. And do you think then defence of his title is the key aim for Iron Maximus? He's rated so highly. He is, on paper, a Gold Cup caliber horse.
He is. I mean, when he won the Grand National last year, I thought, wow, we've got a Gold Cup horse with that sort of performance, But when we looked at it, and I think JP is very keen to go back for the Grand National. He's got a horse that loves the track. He actually, I'd say, probably Aintree brings out his best qualities, and he's not going to have too much more weight in the race. And he says, why not? Let's have a go at, having a Tiger Roll or maybe a Red Rum. Who knows?
And JP knows that when the Galopin des Champs era is done, you're going to win the Gold Cup for him with Factor File, and then when he's done, you're going to win it with Margeborough, and when he's done, and so on and so forth. You see, it's all planned out.
Now, Hattie, you're listening to that.
Who do you think of those younger horses coming through is the most talented? Who's the one that gets the blood pumping at the beginning of the season?
I think Factor File after last year's performance, and then you look at Gaelic Warrior, what he did. I mean, we thought he was our Gold Cup horse, and he still could be, but he goes back and he was able to win the Arkle. He has that sort of speed, tactical speed, and he jumps so well. They're two horses any trainer would love to have, so fingers crossed they both stay right. But
do you think we pigeonhole, especially jumps horses, in terms of distance a bit too readily? That actually they're all a bit more adaptable if they're good enough?
I think so. If you get a real smart 2-miler, okay, you probably do stay there. But the old timers, most guys will tell you that a real classic Gold Cup winner should be able to win a champion chase anyhow. The likes of Gaelic Warrior could be one of those type of horses. Factor File, he'd probably more a stayer, but he's such a fabulous jumper. His jumping would probably keep him in the fray over 2 miles.
I mean, you've been champion trainer here in Ireland so many times and have achieved so much and have won everything, both sides of the Irish Sea. I mean, what is it that keeps driving you forward and wanting to try new things?
People pigeonhole horses, and the way racing is very traditional. And to me, let's think a little bit different and do things that people haven't done before just to see, can it be done? And I get a bigger thrill out of that. I'd love to have a horse maybe that could win a hurdle race, a flat race, a chase all in the one season. You know, I remember my father trained different types of horses, but he had some very good ones. But you raced where you could find races at the time, and he didn't just keep them to 2 miles over hurdles for the whole season. They tried different trips, and they might go back and have a few runs on the flat and win on the flat, and that's the way we trained horses. You know, back in the day, you weren't afraid to do things differently.
But you love the puzzle of it. You love just being a little more inventive, having a bit more ingenuity and saying, right, what edge can we get here?
Yeah.
Is that what drives you more than anything else?
Yeah, I think that's the fun of it. And I've got, you know, when I look at my team here, Patrick, David Casey, Ruby, and we throw it in there, you know, and one of them might say, right, there's a 40 grand race in such and such a place. I think this horse will be right for it, and we look at it, and you know, so we've got so many people throwing things in on our team.
I'm quite interested in the dynamic of the team. We all know them quite well, Patrick, Ruby, David Casey. If you were to talk about them as personalities and what everybody throws into the mix, how do they all complement each other as people more than
they're
riders?
I mean they've all ridden, so they all know the tracks, they know the horses. They're all sensible, and but they're all inquisitive as well. They all look for something different to do. Can we get an edge here somewhere? And that's what I like about them, that they're not they don't just take it as read. They will look and see, maybe that horse could go that direction instead of this direction, and we might have another horse for that race, so we'll spread our things a bit more. And they're like me. They love the thrill of thinking outside the box, I think, and thinking, let's do something different.
In that regard, was there one particular race last season, in this season of all seasons, that really stood out? Maybe not the biggest one, but the one where you thought, well, we did it.
To me, to go to Ayr and win the races we did there, and win the Scottish Grand National, I thought I'd never have a Scottish Grand National winner, because just for the circumstances of the way the season is, and you know, but they planned a raid over there, and we ended up with 2 or 3 winners, I think, at the meeting. So Perth was a disappointment. Now we got nothing in Perth. I thought we'd raid Perth, so I did. And
this is it. Stand by. This is the target, isn't it, for 24-25, to raid Perth. Make sure you win everything at Perth.
We were well looked after in Perth, but we didn't get much prize money. But there we are. That's that's the way it went, you know. So I was disappointed coming home from Perth. Had the wheels falling off the wagon, you know.
When you hear all the Willie Mullins wins everything, he's too dominant, it's boring, it's a Mullins Fest, 8 Grade 1s at the Dublin Racing Festival, does it bother you, or does it just spur you on to win more? I
was more surprised than anyone when we won the 8th one. Someone said, "You've won all 8 Grade 1." I hadn't even been thinking about it. We were having a good day. So it's, you know, did a lot of people, when Vincent O'Brien was winning everything, say it's bad for Irish racing? Actually, it raised the whole game. So it did. I think in Ireland, you wouldn't remember, but all those old magazines, like the Blood Horse, not so much the Horse and Hound, but there was another
Pacemaker and Remember magazines.
Oh, well before Pacemaker. But Pacemaker was another one. You know, Irish
Stud
racing.
And Stable, I remember.
Stud and Stable,
just
yeah.
About.
Irish racing would be a footnote on the back page. Then along came Vincent O'Brien, Darky, and a few more, and next thing, Ballydoyle just became so good, and then foreign owners came in and started sending good horses to Ireland, to Irish trainers, and it just raised the whole game to what we have at the moment on the flat. And I think jumping is going to be the same way. That we've seen that already in the last few years, the amount of new owners that have come to Irish racing. So I think some people, you know, you'll always get people that will give out, but I think in the long run it'll raise our whole game, our whole profile.
Can you train horses better now than you could 10 years ago, even 5 years ago? Are you better at actually getting a horse conditioned for a race now than you were?
I think we are. I think we learn all the time. We've, our new gallops that we've put in have been a huge help to us. You're learning all the time. I mean, one filly I had last year, I thought this filly, her wind didn't sound good. Like we were standing on the gallop this morning, I'm always listening to, and I thought, oh, I'm going to suffer with this filly. I changed her gallop, changed her way of training, and eventually we got her what I thought was fit enough, and she went out and won half the track. And we were all stood and looked at one another, what did we just do there? And we continued training her like that. And she won a very big race mid-season. And she looks a decent filly to go racing with this year. But we'd never trained her, we'd never trained horses the way we trained her. It's just something I tried, I said, because I don't think training her conventionally is going to work with their wind. And it's just extraordinary. So this year, we're going to have all our wind horses doing what she did last year.
Oh my
Who
God,
knows, you know?
It
might
terrifying.
Work. It might work. Or maybe she was just...
So which filly was this?
We won't tell you, I can't tell you because...
Oh, all the clever people will have worked it out already.
Ghosting into it away to the left, and Townend has yet to twitch, and Stateman comes right alongside Irish Point. Zarek the Brave is running on in behind with Lucia as Nemean Lion backs out of it. The final flight, Stateman by a whisker. Irish Point though, with stamina assured, it's game. Now Townend shakes up Stateman, he goes a length clear. Irish Point fighting on bravely. Stateman with Constitution Hill absent. Stateman has his day in the sun and wins the Unibet Champion hurdle.
I was really entertained by Nicky Henderson's quotes on his owner's day about Constitution Hill coming back. You know, you've got to play.
Yeah, I mean,
to the gallery.
We had a great laugh when we read the headline. We burst out laughing. Said, "Oh, Nicky is enjoying his open day." And I met Nicky about 10 days later, and he was sort of, I won't say mortified that it was in the headline, you know,
a bit more sheepish.
But we actually we know Nicky well, and we knew that the way he said it was in a bit of fun.
Yeah,
not
it's quite fun to have a bit of trash talk. But are you gonna throw a few in Constitution Hill's way along the season this time?
We might. We have, a few nice horses that. Stateman and Lossiemaz, I mean, I suppose lots of people are just waiting for her to take her chance in the champion hurdle.
Yeah.
So it depends when we take him on.
I feel like the way you're looking and smiling that you quite fancy a crack at him before the champion hurdle.
I'm not so sure, because I think if you do it beforehand, that takes the thrill out of the champion hurdle, because if we go over and take him on in Newcastle or wherever, a Christmas hurdle, then people say, the betting will change and say, well, he's not going to beat her or vice versa, him, come Cheltenham. And I love the build up to Cheltenham, that everyone wins their races along the way, and let's have the final in Cheltenham.
Okay, so to what extent then do you campaign to try and keep the dreams alive for people?
Oh, I think you want to keep the dream alive for yourself as well as people, so you do.
But you've got a lot of owners to keep happy, and a lot of powerful owners
everyone has to get a bite of the cherry, and if you run them all the first day against one another, well, then there's no season, is there? There's no anticipation of when they meet, what'll happen, And I love the build-up. It's the build-up, isn't it, towards Cheltenham at the end of the season. And if you take one another on early in the season, then it's dead.
You can be the best trainer in the world, but if you can't train your owners, or if you can't manage people, then you've got nothing, because you won't get the horses through the gate. What do you think are your strengths and weaknesses in that regard?
I think as you get older, people trust you a lot better, and with success, people trust that you're doing the right thing. It mightn't be what they want to do, but they trust that you have the experience and you've done it before, and you'll hopefully get us to where we want to go, i.e. the big races, Cheltenham, Aintree, Sandown at the end of the season, and I think people just take it on trust, whereas a young trainer mightn't get away with that. I felt that through the years as we're longer here, that people come to you and trust you, and
say get on with it.
Yeah.
you've sort of cultivated a reputation as leaving quite a lot of things to the last minute, and people always make a joke about it now. Even you joke about it yourself, and Ruby will joke about it, and David Casey and all the rest of it. Is it a well-earned reputation, or is it a bit of an urban myth?
No, well earned. But I would say nowadays with the team we have, we do plan things a little earlier. Yeah.
And I can see you're already thinking about all these things. All the cogs are going all the time. Yeah,
but we just. I was definitely last minute, but then I was probably doing everything myself. Mm-hmm. But now that the people we have, as I said, Patrick, David, Ruby, Jackie, and Grania in the office, everyone has a little bit to contribute, and things get done a bit earlier nowadays. Yeah.
And I mean, is there a part to which, if you're trying to keep so many top class horses, not necessarily apart from one another, but you're trying to curate the campaigns of all these wonderful horses, do you feel you kind of have to keep everybody on a slightly need-to-know basis? You don't want to tempt fate, or?
Yeah, because I mean, some people love to have their season mapped out and planned out, and we're going here, there on the 10th of January, then the 12th of February, and then to Cheltenham, and then on to Aintree. And sometimes it doesn't suit to let the opposition know what you're doing. Let them keep guessing, so it actually, I mean...
Do you play poker?
No, I'm no good at it.
That I am surprised by.
Yeah, I'm no good at it. But I mean, last year now we nominated one race for one horse for one race in Cheltenham, and he won it. But we lost the other race because the opposition wanted to know which way we were going, and we told them we'd have rather met the opposition in the race. We thought we could have beaten them, and we might have won the other race with another horse. So I like to just keep things close to your chest. And sometimes an advantage. Tell people where you're going, and they'll all run scared. So there's plus and minus. Depends what you have depends what you have. So there's different ways of doing it.
It strikes me that you never ever lose sight of racing as an entertainment industry.
It's entertainment. The social value of racing, I think, is hugely underestimated. Maybe there's no money in that when you put it beside the gambling aspect, but obviously the gambling aspect pays for racing, but I think racing should be sold more for the social outlet it is. I mean, it's a great fun day to go racing, and I'm a little bit worried nowadays that there's 35 minutes between races at ordinary race meetings.
Just kick on.
God, yeah. I mean, people want action. You can only go for so many cups of tea or so many drinks after each, so you can't do that. And if there's 35 minutes,
Well, the thing is, if you and I find it boring if there's a 35-minute gap, what chance has someone who's not that into it got?
Yeah, that's, to me, it needs to be bang, 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 excitement.
It's as if we've been gone forever, but soon it'll feel like we've never been away. It's showtime.